Tune in for Today Explained, beginning at 7 on Radio IQ.
Make your smart home even smarter. Just ask your smart speaker to play Radio IQ, and we'll keep you up to date with NPR News, the BBC, and award-winning local news coverage from Radio IQ.
Charlie and Maggie and Jonathan, as I said before the break, one of the most surprising qualities of this first year of the second term has been the way that the president has used this consolidated power overseas. He has deployed U.S. bombers to take out Iran's nuclear facilities. He has intervened in the war between Israel and Gaza and successfully pushed for a peace deal that released the hostages there. He has tried to negotiate peace between Russia and Ukraine. He has used special forces to take out Nicolas Maduro. He has threatened to take over Greenland.
I think the problem with the list you just laid out, Michael, is that it contains very conventional expressions of, presidential power in an area where there is a lot of leeway, in terms of the ability to conduct foreign policy. So it is completely conventional for a president to try to negotiate the end to a war in any part of the world. Where we get into really, to use the word again, extravagant uses of power is in declaring, just because Donald Trump says so, that people who are transporting cocaine on boats are armed combatants and terrorists, and therefore I won't arrest them. I will just blow them up and kill them. Or, sending Delta Force in to remove a foreign sovereign.
I mean, Charlie, since Jonathan brings it up and dismisses much of my list as conventional, but zeroes in
I would throw bombing Iran into the list of things that are
fair.
Across the line, but certainly negotiating peace deals is not.
And when you say cross the line, describe what you mean and why it matters.
Well, bombing Iran was seen as across the line because it created such a risk of a major regional conflagration that the anticipated risk that it could lead to a full-scale war meant Congress needed to be involved from the beginning if we were going to cross that line. The boat strikes and the Venezuela Maduro operation certainly in that category. Trump is assuming for himself the power to essentially order the summary extrajudicial executions of people who had always been treated as criminal suspects, and the crime they are suspected of committing not even a capital offense, that is drug trafficking. He's done so through a sort of conjuring into existence legal realities, realities in quotation marks. I mean, that's an extraordinary thing. No one thinks that outside of the government that there is actually an armed conflict, but who's going to challenge him inside the government? Clearly the military is not, especially because their JAG Corps has been gutted by Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth.
JAG Corps are the lawyers in the military who might issue opinions saying, don't do that.
Yes.
Jonathan, as legally dubious as some of these actions have been, they do appear to serve the U.S. national interest.
Well, just because something is unlawful or at least legally contested doesn't mean that it's not appealing or doesn't get some good for America. So the two major military operations that he has authorized in Iran and in Venezuela resulted in no American service members dying. And if you're Donald Trump and you pull off such spectacular military successes and then get the reinforcement of the praise and the fear, it's self-reinforcing. And that's why you see him now saying, well, what about Greenland? What about Cuba? What about regime change in Iran? And it's true that the Europeans are now spending more on their defense, but there are going to be areas where Donald Trump's approach to power extracts positive things for America. There are also going to potentially be costs and maybe even very significant costs to the way that he's acting on the global stage.
Maggie, polling shows that voters' approval of him on a wide variety of key issues, from the economy to immigration to some of his overseas interventions, has been on the decline throughout this first year of his second term.
Sure, this has come up a lot. I mean, the simple answer, and we hear this from multiple people close to the president, is he just sort of doesn't care the same way. I mean, he is just going to do what he wants. We talked about the reparations era of Donald Trump for everything. You know, he felt like he didn't get to enjoy his presidency the first time because of the Russia investigation and impeachments and so forth and so on. And now he feels like he is just going to do what he wants, and he is not on the ballot again himself. And so unless there is a direct impact to him, he doesn't care.
To me, the big question is, when Donald Trump leaves the scene and a more conventional politician comes in, can that person glue together this impossible coalition, which includes Lindsey Graham and Tucker Carlson, people who despise each other, who diametrically opposed on key issues? Can a more conventional politician glue together that coalition?
Well, I want to ask the three of you a bit of a curveball. I'm curious what specific moment of this past year stands out to you, because for you, it was the most revealing and embodying of this second term so far.
For me, it really was about the initial handling in the summer of the Jeffrey Epstein files, documents, material, whatever you want to call it.
Why?
This is another example of Trump personalizing his presidency in the sense that for him, he was never that obsessed with the Jeffrey Epstein matter, but it has been a driving force for a lot of his supporters. And there was just this fundamental disconnect between himself and aspects of his base on this. And this was the first time, at least for me, that we really saw that.
Charlie?
Well, I spent so much time writing about Venezuela and the boat strikes. I'll pick in September, when he's got some people in the Oval Office for a completely unrelated issue, and he suddenly just kind of casually remarks, by the way, we blew some people out of the water this morning. You're going to be hearing more about that. And then a few minutes later, posts on his Truth social media platform what any administration would treat as highly classified footage of this attack.
Jonathan, what about you?
There are sort of two moments. They're both images, actually, video. The first was the tech billionaires on the dais at the inauguration, because in terms of unleashing AI, giving these guys basically everything they want. If you think about what are the things that he does that are going to outlast him, that's going to be one of them. The other one is the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It was a horrifying moment. I can't get that video out of my head.
Yeah, same.
I talked to Charlie Kirk the day before he was assassinated, someone that I dealt with a lot. While Charlie's death was a horrible tragedy, it was also an opportunity for the Trump administration to do what many of them have wanted to do, including Donald Trump, which is use government power to crush the left, to dismantle the left, to go after the institutional left, the major groups on the left. If we do see in the next 12 months efforts by the Justice Department to dismantle, prosecute the left's big groups, this horrible assassination could be a real catalyst of that story.
I want to end this conversation by asking the three of you to briefly look ahead to the rest of the term and what is left for him to do after doing so much in these past 365 or so days. What's actually left for him to do after everything he has done, Maggie?
Well, let's just take his revenge tour, specifically in the form of prosecutions he wants to see. And so no one has been convicted, no one has been put in jail, and so far...
So that work is unfinished for him.
Yes, and he has made quite clear vocally to people around him that work is unfinished.
Jonathan?
Donald Trump, I'm not saying he has a fully developed framework for this, but I think at an instinctive level, he's quite sympathetic to the notion of dividing the world up into spheres of influence, meaning America is the hegemon in the Western Hemisphere, and that potentially also leaves room for China to take Taiwan, for Russia to, obviously they are going to get a large amount of land out of whatever final arrangement happens in this war. It'll be interesting to see how that evolves.
Charlie, do you have anything to add to what you think might happen here?
To add one more thing to the table, I would point to immigration enforcement as an unfinished business that is already becoming escalatory. Mass sweeps aimed at purging the country of many millions of people who are here without documentation, as we are seeing in places right now like Minneapolis. But the bottom line is there are millions of people here that people like Stephen Miller do not want to be here. And finding them and taking them into custody and pushing them through the deportation hearing process in a way that seems very incendiary.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, as we sit here right now, it really does feel like the country is on edge. We're in this very precarious moment where you've got Donald Trump's assertion of power using the military, using ICE in cities in a very in-your-face way, and a resistance movement that is building up steam on the left. And it just seems like that collision is inevitable in a way that is much more dramatic than we've seen so far.
Well, Jonathan, Charlie, Maggie, thank you very much. Once again, appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
What's what?
The Daily is supported by Legacy Box, dedicated to helping customers turn boxes with family videos and photos into memories that can be shared with generations to come. More at legacybox.com.
For everything you need to know about the most important stories of the day, you're listening to The Daily from The New York Times, distributed by American Public Media. APM produces and distributes programs that entertain and engage audiences everywhere.
Hey, it's A. Martinez, and I want you to cast your mind back to all the road trips you've had with that car of yours. Of all the miles you've racked up on the odometer, how many hours were spent listening to public radio? If mileage has taken its toll over the years, donate that car, truck, or RV to this station. You'll help everyone put more miles on their radio with hours and hours of thought-provoking news and information. Here's how.
Go to radioiq.org and click the support tab and select vehicle donation.
You're listening to Radio IQ on WVTF Roanoke, WRIQ Charles City Richmond, WVTU Charlottesville, WVTW Charlottesville, WVTR Marion, WISE FM Wise, WQIQ Spotsylvania, WIUR Lexington, WEHC Emory, HD3 of WURV Richmond, and on 92.5 Richmond and 94.9 Fredericksburg. Radio IQ, a listener-supported community service of Virginia Tech, on your smart speaker and online at radioiq.org.
I can't read lips.
It's been exactly 1 year since Donald Trump began his second term as president of these United States, and trying to recount the last 12 months is perhaps too much. Here's the last 12 hours. Trump's been screenshotting and sharing DMs sent to him by France's President Emmanuel Macron and Mark Rutte, the head of NATO. They're trying to talk Trump off his plan to acquire Greenland, something that wasn't even mentioned in his inaugural address a year ago. What was immigration, crime, oil, manufacturing?
I will declare a national emergency at our southern border. And we are going to bring law and order back to our cities. See, we will drill, baby, drill.
Absent from that speech was Project 2025, this brick of policy proposals from the Conservative Heritage Foundation that Trump had distanced himself from. But 1 year in, the president has quietly met many of Project 2025's objectives. That's coming up on Today Explained.
BBC News with Danielle Yałowiecka. President Trump has dismissed suggestions he's willing to break apart the NATO alliance over his desire to acquire Greenland. Speaking at a lengthy news conference, he insisted a deal over the Arctic territory was possible and NATO members would be very happy. He was speaking on a day when his foreign policy dominated the World Economic Forum in Davos. Gary O'Donoghue reports from Washington.
President Trump wanted to focus mainly on domestic issues in this marathon news conference, but reporters pressed him on a range of foreign policy issues. On Greenland, he was asked how far he was prepared to go to acquire the world's largest island. You'll find out was his enigmatic answer. On NATO, Donald Trump questioned whether the alliance would come to the rescue of the US, pushing back on suggestions that his actions were putting the 80-year-old organization under huge pressure.
Stock markets across the world have fallen in reaction to President Trump's foreign policy interventions. Wall Street closed around 2% lower following earlier falls in Europe and Asia. The dollar has also weakened, while gold and silver, seen as safe havens in uncertain times, have continued to rise. The U.S. Justice Department has served subpoenas on high-ranking Democratic politicians in the state of Minnesota over allegations of a conspiracy to hamper federal immigration agents. It comes in the wake of a surge in their deployment to the Minneapolis area to detain suspected illegal migrants. Jonathan Fruin reports.
Those served with subpoenas include Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, Attorney General Keith Ellison, and the Mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey. The subpoenas are in connection with an investigation into whether the officials impeded immigration enforcement with their public statements. In response, Tim Walz said in a statement that Minnesota would not be drawn into what he called political theatre, while Jacob Frey added that every American should be concerned, alleging the weaponization of federal government power. Protests have escalated in Minneapolis after one immigration agent shot dead a local woman, Renee Good, with local officials demanding the federal forces depart.
One person has been killed and 4 others seriously injured in a second fatal train crash in Spain in 3 days. More details from our correspondent Guy Hedgecoe.
The local train was derailed in Gelida in the northeastern region of Catalonia after a wall collapsed onto it, apparently because of the torrential rain which had been falling along the Mediterranean coast. The driver of the train was killed. Several ambulances arrived at the scene to treat those injured, and firefighters were also present. Many coastal areas in the east and northwest of Spain are on high alert because of the weather. There have also been snowstorms in the Spanish Pyrenees and storms along the coast of Menorca, creating waves several meters high.
World News from the BBC. The US military says it seized another tanker in the Caribbean, the 7th ship apprehended since President Trump announced a blockade to prevent sanctioned vessels from heading to or from Venezuela. It came as Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, announced the appointment of a US-educated banker to head the country's main investment agency. The move followed her sacking of a close ally of the former president, Nicolas Maduro, from the post. The International Atomic Energy Agency has still not been able to inspect the 3 Iranian nuclear sites bombed by the United States and Israel last June. But the UN nuclear watchdog's head, Rafael Grossi, told the Reuters news agency his inspectors had now visited all 13 of Iran's declared sites that hadn't been targeted. Police in Nigeria have confirmed the abduction of dozens of worshippers in the community of Kermanwali in Kaduna State. It marks a reversal from an earlier denial. Police claimed their earlier statement had been widely misinterpreted. Makawachi Okafor reports.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our 7 o'clock p.m. session of Roanoke City Council. I'll ask our clerk to please call the roll.
Sanchez-Jones. Here. Vice Mayor McGuire. Here. Mr. Nash. Here. Mr. Vollison. Here. Ms. Powers. Here. Mr. Hagan. Here. And Mayor Cobb.
Here, and a quorum is present. I'm delighted to welcome the Reverend Katina Martin, pastor at Belmont Christian Church, to deliver our invocation, and then I will lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. Would everyone please stand? Welcome.
Let us pray. God, I stand in gratitude for the gift of this day. I acknowledge the many challenges that this council and those that work for this city face every day, every week. God, grant your wisdom and clarity and your resources for every problem that we need to solve for this city and beyond. In your name, may it be so. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome, and we are so excited to be here with Milton Hardy, our athletics director for Roanoke Parks and Recreation.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt. I think we need to.
Thank you for keeping me on my toes. I was so excited. I forgot we need to certify our closed meeting.
I'll make it fast. I move with respect to any closed meeting just concluded that each member of City Council in attendance certify to the best of his or her knowledge that only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and only such public business matters as were identified in any motion by which any closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered by the members of council in attendance.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Do I have a second? All right, Councilmember Volleson. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Sanchez Jones. Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers.
Aye.
Mr. Hagan.
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the motion is adopted. Thank you all very much. Roanoke City Parks and Recreation is pleased to report the successful completion of the 2025 youth tackle football season. For the 2025 season, championships were awarded to the teams with the best overall records across the season. Tonight, we're going to recognize those teams. First of all, we're going to recognize the 10U division. The Greater Southwest Association GSA football team earned the 10U championship title for the third consecutive year, and they finished with a 6-1-1 season record. So we want to welcome the coaching staff and the players. Okay. All right. Milton, would you like to say anything?
Yes.
Good job, well done on the season. We hope they'll come back next year. We have to wait to see them. We're excited about it.
Number 2 kind of.
Could you all back up just a foot? Thank you. Thank you.
Here, come.
Now let's give one more round of applause. And now for the 12U division. We're pleased to celebrate the Star City football team claiming the 12U championship title with a season record of 7-1. So let's bring them up.
Just had a lot of hair. Yeah, some braids.
Our boys, we had a lot of, we had a couple players around here, but we have a, my niece. I'm sorry, Mom. We had a lot of first year players that never played football, and they were dedicated. Mr. Fly, no fly zone back there. He really turned up. Y'all be looking out for them. They're gonna do big things. Real big things.
The city got a lot of talent coming this way, and just come out and support these kids every year, because I'm telling you right now, this is some of the future of our city right now. Not only from GSA, but man, you got so much talent that I don't think these kids know what they're capable of doing. But with the right coaching staff, man, my brother being modest right now, but I'm gonna tell you right now, man, coaching with this guy, bro, and is him and Coach Tyke it's a blessing. That's all I can say. It's a blessing. We'll see what they do on a daily basis with these kids. Mr. Defense right here. I don't care what he says. Shut down defense. And all I can say, man, is just watching these kids grow every year is a blessing.
So, and I heard you say something earlier that I'm not sure everybody caught. But you said you didn't allow any points.
No.
Did y'all hear that? That's a defense. All right. I know some pro teams that could use you all. Just saying. Well, let's get a picture.
We're gonna get that work. Northside High School, home of the Vikings. I'm sorry, that's exactly.
Milton, you're blocking me. I was kidding.
Yeah. You want to sweat it?
All right, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
We gotta go.
So before these guys sit down, I just want to say that we commend all the participating clubs, Star City, Williamson Road, Greater Southwest Association, and Southeast Recreation Sports for their continued engagement and contribution to youth sports in Roanoke. Our Parks and Recreation remains committed to providing quality athletic opportunities to promote teamwork, leadership, and community pride. We look forward to building on the success in the 2026 season. Congratulations again, everybody.
We got a lot of people.
Do you want to? So at this time, I want to introduce Cindy McFall, who is our Director of Parks and Recreation, and she'd like to make a special presentation. You want, yeah, you want to do it? You want me to do it? Okay. Parks and Recreation is proud to announce its, let me start over, because I saw this young man receive this award on that night, and it's really exciting. Parks and Recreation is proud to recognize Andre Chapman for being named the Junior Achievement of Southwest Virginia 2025 Student of the Year. Now, there's some important stuff to know about Andre. Andre has been an invaluable member of the Roanoke City Parks and Recreation Youth Development Team, contributing greatly to both the summer and after-school programs. A former participant in the Roanoke City Teen Apprenticeship Program, Andre now gives back by serving in multiple capacities to ensure the success of the youth in these programs. From mentoring participants to driving program vehicles, he consistently demonstrates leadership, reliability, and a genuine passion for helping others. Andre is currently a senior at William Fleming High School. And a student at the Charles W. Day Technical Education Center, where he is completing coursework in sports marketing and advanced entrepreneurship. He is graduating with honors as part of the class of 2026, ranking in the top third of his class. In addition to his academic excellence, Andre is also a standout pitcher and first baseman for the William Fleming Colonels baseball team.
All right.
We are truly grateful for Andre's commitment, character, and contributions. Andre, you're an outstanding example of youth leadership and future leadership in our community. Congratulations.
Good evening. Every day when I go home, everybody asks me, well, how was your day? I tell them, good. What did you do? I tell them, nothing. But honestly, I tell them nothing because nothing really exciting happens at school. When I mean by exciting, I mean by going to school every day and hearing about other people's path they want to take in life. Everybody you see in high schools day to day, they do the same thing over and over. That might be argue, have disagreements, maybe fight. But at the Charles W. Day Technical Career Center, I get to take what I learned from my classes and take them to the kids I work with every day and expand what I know and what they can learn in life, which leads me to make me want to own my own business. I want to own an indoor fishing facility with all different types of camps for older people, younger people, disabled people. Anybody is welcome to come. I take that to say that anything is possible with the people around you and the teachers you have.
So on behalf of the City of Roanoke and City Council, we want to present Andre Chapman with the Certificate of Achievement for being the 2025 Junior Achievement of Southwest Virginia Student of the Year, making a positive impact on the lives of the citizens of the City of Roanoke, given under our hands this 20th day of January, 2026. Continuing on our agenda tonight, we don't have any public hearings, so we'll move on to our hearing of citizens upon public matters. Council sets this time as a priority for citizens to be heard. If deemed appropriate, matters will be referred to the city manager for response, recommendation, or report to the city council. For those who may not have spoken before at city council, just a couple of housekeeping things. When you come up to, your name is called, come up to the mic. It's live, so you don't have to worry about any of the settings. In the upper right-hand corner is a box. It's got a green light, a yellow light, and a red light. Green means go. Yellow means you have 1 minute left. Red means wrap it up. If you're in midstream, I'll work with you to finish up. Everyone will have 3 minutes to speak tonight, and we thank you in advance for being here tonight. So I'm going to ask our clerk to call 2 names at a time so the first person can come up and second person can be ready. All right? Madam Clerk.
Right, our first speaker, Rosemary Ann St. Jacques and Misty Dawn Vickers.
Welcome.
Hi. It's so good to see a bunch of familiar faces, and I'd like to meet you all that I haven't met. My name is Rosemary Ann St. Jakes, and I'm born and raised in Roanoke. And one of my biggest passions is Evan Spring. Evan Spring is I think it's running about 1 to 2 million gallons of fresh, clean, pure water a day. It has 2 heads, 2 big spring heads, and it's currently running into Lick Run, and it's in the trees off of 581 when Best Buy's on your right and trees are on your left. That's Evan Spring. And I've been working with a team, Friends of Evan Spring, and we've been working with the neighborhood. Y'all know because we've all been working together for so long. And I just want to thank you for your continued support and interest. And I know that it's a tough subject, but we've been working together with all kinds of different agencies and whatever to come up with an idea. And we, some girls in our group, LaDonna and Tiffany, have come up with a really great idea of putting the land in a trust. And I have seen that across town over by where the Bimbo factory and the Amazon warehouse is. There's actually a land trust over there. And when you go down the right road, it's as if you're back in time because that land's been the same for so long. And when she got that idea, I just thought, oh, wow, that is so good, because that's what Evan Spring feels like. You could go to Evan Spring and you feel like you could be in any time period. You could be in the 1700s. You wouldn't know because it's so beautiful over there. And so we just want to thank you for your continued interest and support, and hope that you'll continue to work with us to come up with something really cool to do, because these are the things that make Roanoke amazing. And this is kind of a secret thing that makes Roanoke amazing. You guys are, you know it's amazing because, like, Miss Sanchez Jones has been there, and Terry, and so, but I hope in the future that more people know about how amazing it is, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Welcome, Ms. Vickers.
Good evening. Good evening, council, city manager, lawyer, and sorry. I watched the 2 o'clock show that was on YouTube, and I got my money's worth, and it was quite embarrassing. You are looking at an $11 million deficit, and you could have funded schools for a $29 million or $30 million deficit. I know you have a hard job. I don't envy it. I don't. But you know, taking this role, what you were walking into, and if you didn't know, you knew soon after you signed NDAs. We have people in Richmond that can only bring 15 bills before the General Assembly to vote on them. And you hire a $6,000 a month lobbyist for a casino. We have a data center coming to suck millions of gallons of water from our future generations. And what are we doing? What money are we getting? There's no taxation in the taxation plan for this year. In fact, there's a tax break for data centers until 2050 proposed before our General Assembly. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you I know the answers, but I know we're really smart. And I know when we put our brains together, we can find solutions. But voting earlier to defund them, defund these teachers, to defund my daughter's education, you invite people to come get awards. Parents come to get awards for their kids, but they're not coming to see you defund education. That's a problem. It's an embarrassment. And when we have people who are compromised, whether they're sitting on the Water Authority board, knowing that our water is going to be going to big business and not to future generations, but it's okay for you to defund our children's future. You know what you're doing. And I know it's not easy, but you can postpone a vote until you find solutions. This is one of many meetings you're going to have about the budget, but you went ahead and voted. You could have delayed. You wanted to hear from people? They're here, but you voted at 2 o'clock. You knew they couldn't make it at 2 o'clock because they're teachers. Come on. I expect better from you. You know better. 2 of you cannot vote. That's not okay. There should be a way that our students and our teachers are represented, our future generations. I know it's not easy, but Richmond and sending a $6,000 a month lobbyist for a casino to Richmond isn't going to fix it. Figure it out. I'm here to help. Be nice to be invited to meetings.
Thank you.
Chris Carter, Stephen McTigg.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Cobb, Vice Mayor McGuire, and members of council. My name is Chris Carter, and I'm here tonight because our neighbors are about to freeze in the dark. Not metaphorically, literally. Today is the 1-year anniversary of Trump's inauguration. 1 year. That's all it took. In April, they fired every single person who ran LIHEAP, the Heating Assistance Program, gone. Between May and August, they canceled 1.7 million pounds of food to Virginia. The Blue Ridge Area Food Bank lost 360,000 pounds, while demand hit 45% higher than COVID's peak. They're burning through reserves, and that won't last. In July, they froze $6 billion in education grants, threatening $1 million for Boys and Girls Club programs serving kids in Southwest Virginia. AmeriCorps grants terminated across the state. The Roanoke City's biomedical research future, that's unsure. 1 year. All in 1 year. And here's what's coming. The Roanoke Housing Authority serves 1,276 families in public housing, 2,067 with vouchers, and 4,000 more on the waiting list. Proposed cuts slash their funding in half. That old Spanish Trail project, dead. LIHEAP eliminated, 100,000 Virginia families lose heating. What happens when a 75-year-old's heating bill is $300 and her check is $900? Medicaid cuts so deep that Senator Warner says virtually every hospital west of Roanoke could close. When the nearest ER is 50 miles instead of 5, people die. The heart attack, the stroke, the kid who can't breathe. This isn't both parties failing. This is one administration choosing to take food from hungry children so rich people can pay less taxes. And all the while, we're watching our neighbors being kidnapped by masked men on the streets. This isn't the Housing Authority's problem. This isn't the food bank's problem. This isn't Carillion's problem. This is our problem together. What I'm proposing this council needs to do is in the next 30 days convene everyone for a state of emergency. Housing Authority, food banks, ministries, nonprofits, faith leaders, ask what do you have and what do you need, and then act. We need fast-tracked affordable housing, waive fees, cut red tape, make Old Spanish Trail happen. And we also need an emergency assistance fund to keep families housed and warm. And we have to stop allowing ICE to use public resources. Our Congressman Ben Klein sits on appropriations, one of the most powerful positions for funding decisions. And he's supposed to be in our voice in this room, and obviously he's not. We need you to lead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephen McTigg.
Stephen, how do you spell the last name?
McTigue.
Stephen McTigg. McTigg. I don't think is here. So let's go on to the next two.
All right. Jim Fishback and Dr. Jack Left. Ooh.
Is the Who was the who was the first speaker again?
Jim Fishback.
Jim Fishback. All right, let's bring up Dr. Jack Leff.
Hi, council, lawyer, city manager. I don't get to flex my title that often, so these political hearings are one of my few opportunities. The students certainly don't call me it, despite my repeat attempts to get them to. My name's Dr. Jack Leff. I'm a high school biology and environmental science teacher at William Fleming High School. Go Colonels. Very proud of our student, Andre. And I'm here today to talk about budgets. Budgets are a statement of priority and values. What we prioritize in those budgets is a statement about what the city supports. What we cut is a symbolic statement about what the city doesn't support. That's why I am disappointed to have heard the direction the school funding is going. There's a narrative that the city is cash-strapped, and there's certainly some truth to that. It's hard times for everybody with federal cuts, and I've faced those federal cuts as well, being part of the school system. But if we're truly out of money and looking at cutting education as a serious possibility, I think that you as leadership have few other options to go through first. First and foremost, cut your own salaries as a sign of leadership. Until I see people cutting their own salaries, until the six-figure city executives lower their own salaries, then I do not believe we have run out of money for education. I do not believe we have run out of money for schools. I do not believe we have run out of money for students like Andre. Their money is there, and if you as leaders are not willing to put it up, if that's too painful, then I suggest instead that you cut the $6,000 a month lobbyist for the casino that is wildly unpopular in the city. If the Roanoke Ramblers math is correct, that single cut alone would be able to make up the funding difference between the schools getting 34% and 40%. And this is all happening at a time when class sizes are ballooning. It's the Ramblers reporting, not my math. This is happening at a time when class sizes are ballooning. Many of us teachers have classes of over 30 kids. I have 2 currently, and I used to have a 3rd. But unfortunately, on some of my larger classes, students are facing ICE retaliation and getting deported, and yet we're still trying to cut school funding. This is at a time when special education funding is on the chopping block at the federal level, at a time when English language learning funding is being dropped, and again, students are being deported. Today, students stood up to push back against this reality. Hundreds of students in this city, thousands across the Southwest Virginia, and millions across the country stood up to be moral leaders, to say that they do not approve of what's happening and they will fight back. So why, during this time when our students are leading the way in fighting, City Council seems dead set, with some minor exceptions, on joining the people who are trying to crush them? In closing, I think we need to fund our schools, and we should not be gambling away our kids' futures. The Democrats are having the circles run around them by the single Republican council member. We have 2 elections coming up this year. I do not envy our chances. Thank you.
Jordan Coleman and Casey Carlson.
Hello. Gonna get my notes out. Please hold. Good evening, Mayor Cobb, members of City Council, clerk, lawyer. I've learned everyone's here. My name is Jordan Coleman, and I am a proud public school teacher for Roanoke City Public Schools. I also have the privilege and honor of serving as Roanoke Education Association's current president. I serve alongside these people every single day. I work at a school that's considered a Title I school. We're also a Tier 1 school, so I get to school at 6:45 in the morning. I open car doors, I let in our youngest learners, and at 2 p.m., I'm putting those learners back in their cars to their parents and sending them home, hopefully being able to read, hopefully with their bellies full, and hopefully knowing that we love them. We can do all of those things without your help, but there are several things we cannot do without your funds, your support, and your actions. I come to you tonight to tell you that funding the schools matters. That's really where I could end this. Funding schools matters because schools are not just buildings where students sit quietly for 7 hours a day, nod their head, take in information, and then go home to happy homes. Schools are places where we are nurses and counselors. We are feeding them, we are teaching them, we are loving them, because they may not come home to food or love or support. Those 7 hours a day that they are sitting in our classrooms, we show them what they can do. They can become the student athlete of the year. They can become the doctors, the lawyers, the city council members that sit before us. They can become all of those things because we believe in them. More so, they can become all of those things because you can put the money in the budget to help us have student athletes, arts programs, school funding programs, after-school programs. We can't do those things on our own. The schools are not asking you for 100% of their budgets. They do their part. They have their funding. They do what they can with what they have. But your portion and your percentage helps make that difference. Several of you I reached out to an email. Some of you responded. Some of you responded with things that were approachable, kind, and understanding. Others maybe did not. Some of you, I feel, have forgotten how you got that seat and whose help and whose voters and whose money helped you get to those seats that you are sitting in. And some of you remember, and you say no to votes that will hurt the citizens, the children, the students. It feels as if right now, two things need to be said. I've got 3 seconds, but 2 quotes, so give me a little time. 2 quotes to end you with today is one from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And the other from Taylor Swift. Your silence is actually the loudest thing in this room. And if you don't have the support for the schools, I don't know why you're sitting up there. Thank you for your time.
Welcome.
Hi there, my name is Casey Carlson. I'm a very proud special education teacher in Roanoke City Public Schools, Round Hill Elementary School, to be exact. I'm coming to you all as a parent, as a student in Roanoke City Schools, as a teacher in Roanoke City Schools. And I just want to share with you something that my daughter has written. She doesn't hear a lot on the news. We try to limit that to her as much as possible. I'm so short. But she does pick up on things, especially conversations maybe between my husband and I or my colleagues at times. And she's wrote down some feelings that I just want you to hear from a student in Roanoke City Public Schools who is hearing about the schools not being funded, who has lots of feelings about that. I'm not going to repeat her name. She's asked me not to. She just wants you to know that she is a 10-year-old in 4th grade at Virginia Heights Elementary School. I'm speaking here today on behalf of her because you want to decrease the fundings for schools. In my opinion, I do not think you should do that. Here are reasons you should not do that. 1, you pave the roads. If someone cannot make it out of high school to go to college and learn how to be a construction worker and pave the roads, now you have 2 problems. 1, you have 1 less construction worker and 1 person who cannot function in our world because they were not educated. 2, it's getting too crowded in the high schools. Some people are claustrophobic. And if they faint, what will we do? If we build another high school, mankind can be successful. If we have more successful people, you have more people to pave the roads, to cut the grass, to clean the parks, to do the job the city does. I really think you should not defund the schools. Please hear our voices and listen to them. As children in Roanoke City Public Schools, hear their voices. They matter. Educating them matters. You do not have to listen to them. This is what she says. It is your decision whether to listen or not, but please give us a chance. Thank you, everyone, for listening. That is all.
Michelle Brooks and Jill King.
Hi, thank you for hearing me tonight. I'm Michelle Brooks, a resident of Roanoke, teacher at Lincoln Terrace Elementary, and a parent of a student at Fishburne, and I'm proud secretary of our Roanoke Education Association. In March of 1964, Dr. Martin Luther King, who we honored yesterday, spoke to a group of educators. He said, "The richest nation on earth has never allocated enough resources to build sufficient schools, to compensate adequately its teachers, and to surround them with the prestige our work justifies." He goes on to say, "We squander funds on highways, on the frenetic pursuit of recreation, on the overabundance of overkill armament, but we pauperize education." Pauperize education. Pauperize meaning to reduce education, impoverish education, and to possibly to ruin education. 62 years later, as a society, we continue to pauperize education. Education is always the first to have funding cut. In 22 years of public school service, I have yet to see politicians who vote to fund schools properly for students and staff to be successful. Those with funding aren't in the classrooms day in and day out and believe as long as the standards of quality put forth by the state are met, then everything is fine. The SOQs are the bare minimum requirements. We need more counselors, teachers, IAs, custodians, bookkeepers, nurses, behaviorists, to name a few. These are the workers who keep schools open and running daily. Additionally, with this funding formula in the resolution, one can predict there will most likely be a reduction in personnel, and it will ultimately be the students who will pay the price, the loss of their educational needs being met. Our students deserve the absolute best. Actions speak louder than words, and anyone who says education is their #1 priority, yet believes the resolution to change the funding formula for RCPS is demonstrating that education is not their #1 priority. Dr. King's famous quote, "The time is always right to do what is right," stands out to me today. I have to do what I think is right. As a voter, I plan to not vote for anyone who is okay with the continuation of pauperizing education in Roanoke City. As I've said before, education is an investment you make in your community. If you want Roanoke City to thrive and prosper, you need to fully support education. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of City Council. My name is Jill King, and I'm a proud member of the Roanoke Education Association and a 5th grade teacher in Roanoke City Public Schools. I'm here tonight as an educator, a city resident, and an advocate for the students who depend on the decisions that you make. I want to be clear about why we are here. The proposal that you brought would reduce the city of Roanoke's contribution to our city schools from 40% to 34%. That 6 percentage point reduction may sound modest on paper, but in our classrooms, it represents a significant loss of resources and support. In my 5th grade classroom, there is no extra funding to absorb that kind of cut. A reduction of this size means fewer instructional materials, larger class sizes, fewer support staff for students who need them the most. It means fewer counselors, fewer intervention services, and fewer adults available to help children succeed both academically and emotionally. At the 5th grade level, my students are at a critical stage. They're learning independence, they're preparing for middle school, and navigating big academic and social challenges. Many rely on specialized support services to read at grade level, manage behavioral needs, and to cope with trauma. When funding is reduced, those supports are often the first to disappear. This proposal also has serious implications for teacher retention. Educators in Roanoke already face heavy workloads, and rising costs of living. When funding declines, positions are eliminated, class sizes grow, and morale drops. That instability affects not just the teachers, but the students who rely on consistent, caring adults every day. Public education is not an expense to be minimized. It's an investment in the future. Strong schools attract families, strengthen neighborhoods, and build the workforce that this city depends on. When schools are underfunded, the entire community pays the price. I understand that budgeting involves difficult decisions. As a teacher, we make hard decisions every single day. But it would never improve outcomes for my students by taking away what they need to succeed. I urge you to reject a reduction in the city's contribution to Roanoke City Public Schools and to maintain or strengthen the city's commitment to public education. Our students are not a line item. They are our future. Thank you for your time and for listening.
Matthew Placido and Karen Musgrove.
Good evening, City Councilors. My name is Matthew Placido, Interim Vice President of the Roanoke Educators Association and proud RCPS teacher. I'm once again here to promote a dialogue between the REA and City Council regarding the 26-27 school funding formula and the budgetary constraints that allegedly require a change in said formula on top of the existing clawbacks. In my previous comments in December's meeting, I called on City Council to consider restoring at least the traditional funding formula, or at least consider keeping 40% as the excess revenues. Monda's request amounting to, according to the Ramblers' math, less than $250,000, which, considering the $28 million in clawbacks, is a reasonable request that I'm sure we could find the money from in other departments or in conversations about alternative funding streams. Following that meeting, our president, Jordan Mann, reached out to all councilmen, and I am very grateful to the people who responded and said that they would set up a meeting. We haven't heard back from everybody, and I would sure hope that that changes tonight. I know that City Council has voted on a resolution to change that formula. The district has historically shared the burden in tough times and shared blessings when times are good. And the district pays for city services it uses while taking responsibility for debts incurred by the city. Having taught in other districts, I can say with certainty I've never worked for a district that's taken on such onerous financial responsibilities and successfully maintained a balanced budget and growing capital improvements fund. That's the Roanoke City difference. It's no secret that cities and schools around this country struggle with this kind of financial management. In these types of cities, chronic underfunding creates a culture of division rather than unity between school boards and city councils, and in turn, neither act as team players in serving the broad constituents that depend on the public services of both institutions. What makes our city great is this sharing of the burden and partnerships, that we can both share in that burden and the fruits of our labor. Councilman Powers mentioned that some of there were previous sacrifices that the city workers had to make during tough times. Well, right now, the wages of 25% of RCPS employees fall below the minimum that the city has set for its own workers. When you resolve that we all shoulder burdens together during hard times, but then say to schools that they will face budget cuts when new revenue is available, while we face clawbacks because we manage the money well, you send the message that the city does not actually want to be a partner with the educators it funds, but rather sees our labor we provide as an exploitable resource. That's the kind of politics that will destroy that Roanoke City difference, and with it, the very real opportunity for sustainable economic growth. I want to thank Councilman Hagen, who mentioned out that we can gain $8 on every dollar we invest. You're about to make a $2 million mistake by changing the funding formula to save peanuts in the budget. Don't make that mistake. Reach out to the REA. Let's discuss alternatives that are available.
Jesus. Good evening. My name is Karen Musgrove, and I am a resident of Roanoke City. My children and now my grandchildren are proud students of Roanoke City Schools. I am not a teacher. I really don't belong in there. But, yes, you do. My dad grew up in an orphanage in Lynchburg. After high school, he enlisted in the Army Air Force, where he earned the GI Bill, which made it possible for him to attend Washington and Lee, where he earned his law degree. In 1961, he was appointed Assistant United States Attorney for the Western District of Virginia. His education opened every door that allowed him to contribute not just to his family, but to the city of Roanoke as an attorney, a public servant, and a businessman whose work created opportunities for others, including the business I now run today. My dad often said that the government's investment in his education paid for itself tenfold in taxes and service. He believed deeply that investing in people is the surest way to strengthen a community. That is why investing in our school system is not an expense, it's an investment in Roanoke's future. My daughter and my niece are Roanoke City teachers, and the stories they share about the needs of our students are staggering. Children today struggle with emotional regulation in ways teachers have never seen before. With only the state minimum number of counselors, teachers find themselves stopping instruction to de-escalate that can be serious enough to require clearing an entire classroom to keep students safe. These aren't rare events. They are becoming common across the city. Our schools urgently need more counselors and behavior specialists so that teachers can teach and students can learn. If anyone doubts this, I encourage you to speak directly with teachers. They have story after story to share. Cutting the long-standing funding formula from 40% to 34% is not a small adjustment. It is a direct cut to the supports our students desperately need. It is a step backwards at a time when the challenges in the classrooms are growing and not shrinking. I urge City Council not to move forward with this reduction. Instead, I ask you to restore the 40% formula that served this city for many years. Maintaining that level of support is not just equitable, it is necessary if we want our children to succeed in school and life. Thank you.
Stephen Niamke and Richard Rife. I'm sorry.
Good evening and greetings once again. I told you I would be back. My name is Stephen Yamiche, a citizen of Roanoke for more than 60 years. On behalf of Friends of Evans Spring, we are requesting scrap the current Evans Spring plan. Both the process and the outcome of this plan further damage the relationship between the city and the community. The message we presented to the consultants was not delivered to the city. We experienced what we came to understand as manufactured consent. If the plan is implemented as is, the probability of healing and bridging the divide between the community and the city shrinks to nil. Number two, work with the community, namely Friends of Evans Spring, to construct a new plan. We have resources that we can bring to the table. We have evidence of community collaborations that have been effective in other cities. We have a plan to develop a community land trust that protects and preserves Evans Spring and benefits the entire community. We have people who have been devoted to the cause of preserving Evans Spring for more than 3 years now. We want a seat at the table as plans are constructed. We believe there is a direct relationship between so-called urban renewal and the future of Evans Spring. Your process and plans for Evans Spring can be part of a plan for reparative justice as addressed in your planned apology to the African American community in the city of Roanoke. Similarly, plans for the cottage house at Washington Park, certain zoning policies, and a number of yet unnamed initiatives can promote the healing and conciliation between the community and the city. The apology you plan to extend to the African American community can only be presented once. You won't get a second chance. Apologies don't work that way. And the credibility depends on the actions you take to support your words. And to some extent, this will be your legacy as a council. Part of your action is directly tied to what happens with Evans Spring. If you look up Cranberry Glades Botanical Area in Richwood, West Virginia, you will get a glimpse of our vision for Evans Spring. There's a golden opportunity for this to be a win-win for the city of Roanoke and the community, especially when it comes to the school system. Thank you, Evans Spring provides a wealth of educational opportunities for children. We will send additional invitations to city council members who have not yet met with us, and we thank those who have, and we thank the city manager for her quick and professional response to our request. And we also want to meet with the planning department. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Welcome. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, City Councilors, Madam City Manager, and City Attorney. Stephen said very well what our point of view is. I'm Richard Fife, friend of Evans Spring, and Stephen laid that out there very well, I think. One aspect of what he's talking about, and also what I talked about at 2 o'clock today, would be not feeling heard. That is, has Northwest Virginia felt to be an equal participant in affairs of the city and the council? They haven't. They haven't felt that you've heard them, or at least councils in past have heard them very well. Can they trust council? Is there reason for Friends of Evans Spring or for Northwest Roanoke to trust council to act in their best interests? Well, looking at the history of council and the leadership of the city with the Black community, if you remember the Black community, would you trust council in decisions made? It's a hard go, right? That's a tough one. We were challenged, Friends of Evans Spring, in this recent long debate over the future of Evans Spring. There were consultants that were brought in who were professional consultants. They had good credentials. We listened, we participated. We had a history, Black community particularly, history in relating to leadership that was problematic. The consultants consulted with people and wanted to know what the community thought about Evans Spring. And we, perhaps foolishly, believed they would place great stock in what they heard. What we heard is we put out a petition that over 1,400 people signed, saying they did not want it developed in this heavy commercial way with the larger houses and all that as well. There was a large public meeting at Williams Memorial Church with 140 people and 9 different focus groups, all of which said they did not want that kind of development. We foolishly believed that would be given great credibility or credit, whatever the word is I want there. But the plan that was proposed by the consultants made a good deal to do of that, but it was not given as much play, if you will, in terms of the final plan that was approved and put out. You all did some things with it. but didn't give it the sufficient weight, at least as far as we're concerned, and again, kind of put at risk any development of trust, if you will, or building a relationship between us and you. I spoke of community benefits agreements before, earlier 2 o'clock, where the community, the city, and the developer have equal kind of parts in developing a plan. I would commend that kind of process to you for Evans Springs' future consideration. Would ask you to rescind the plan that you approved or previous council approved in March. Thank you.
The last two speakers, Joanne Hayden and Deborah Carter.
Good evening. Mayor Cobb, Vice Mayor McGuire, City Council members, City Manager, City Attorney Collins. I'm Joanne Hayden, and I'm here speaking on a topic that has been very dear to my heart. I grew up in Northwest Roanoke, and I attend church at Williams Memorial in that neighborhood. This is information about Evans Springs that I think you should know. The record of the Evans Spring property first appeared in the court records of Augusta County, Virginia, in April of 1746. Mark Evans, a Welshman, acquired this property as part of the land grants of over 1,900 acres from King George of England. That was 280 years ago. This information is an important part of Roanoke City's history. The name of our city, Roanoke, was derived from the Native American word Roanoke. Native Americans belonging to the Algonquian tribe lived in this valley and used the water of Evans Spring long before Mark Evans, the settler, came to America. The actual spring and surrounding area is a unique opportunity for Roanoke City to highlight its historic value to the citizens of Roanoke, visitors, and historians. It should be preserved. The trees should not be cut down, and the land should not be paved over with asphalt and concrete. Apartments stacked 3 levels high should not be built, and brick mortar retail stores should not be constructed over a special place that God has created. This is not the Evans Springs that we need. I see another Evans Spring. I see the actual spring as a jewel reflecting the rays of sunlight that penetrate areas of the tree canopy. I see the spring surrounded by land that is a nature preserve, enjoyed by citizens and visitors. I see Evans Spring as an environmental ecosystem utilized by the Roanoke City schools and the other school systems in the valley as an educational center. I see the walking trails that so many people enjoy. I see benches where people can rest as they enjoy the natural beauty of the area. I see Evans Springs in the springtime with its majesty of color and new life. I see the areas of Evans Spring shaded in the summer. I see the spring surrounded by the land as a nature preserve, enjoyed by citizens and visitors. I feel that Evans Springs needs to be preserved, and I have worked with the other members of Evans Springs, and it seems like it's very, very important that we keep this history in this area and make sure that Evans Springs is not taken away from the city, the historic aspects, and I feel that it needs to be preserved. And thank you for your time.
Welcome.
Good evening. I am not here on behalf of the city schools or Evans Springs, although I echo all of them. My name is Deborah Carter. I serve this community in multiple roles. As a resident, as resident council vice president, and vice chair of the Roanoke Redevelopment and Housing Authority Board. I am speaking from lived experience across all three. On December 24th, a resident in my building called 911 for a wellness check after noticing what she believed was a smell of death coming from a neighboring apartment. Fire responded, but no decision was made to check that neighboring unit despite access being available through a lockbox. For days, through Christmas, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, not until Monday morning when maintenance came back to work, a man lay deceased in his home while that smell permeated the apartment next door. Once maintenance was notified, they acted immediately, but by then the harm had already been done. This is not just about one tragic death. It's about whether systems meant to protect us actually do. I recently spoke with the fire chief about this incident. I respect leaders protect their departments, but what I was told does not align with what residents, staff, and contractors experienced on the ground. That disconnect matters because lives and dignity depend on what happens in those moments. The Fire Department Code of Ethics states that firefighters must accept responsibility for their actions, be truthful and honest, and protect the public trust. Those are not slogans, those are promises to the community. When emergency systems minimize concerns, downgrade calls, or explain away inconsistencies, the result is not just procedural failure, it is an erosion of trust. And in communities like mine, trust is already fragile. 2 years ago, after an officer-involved shooting on my property, I stood before this council to speak of the trauma residents experienced when dignity and care was absent at the scene. Today, I am here again because trauma keeps landing in the same places. Trauma-informed care should not depend on your zip code. I am asking this council to ensure that this incident is reviewed not defensively, but honestly, so that protocols are clear, that worst-case scenarios are ruled out first, and that this never happens again. Public housing residents are not second-class citizens. His name was Charles, and he deserved better. And also, I do want to briefly note for the record that RRAH currently has approximately $4 million in capital funding stalled because environmental submissions provided to the city in June of last year remain unapproved. With the federal continuing resolution expiring January 30th and no transportation HUD bill passed yet, these delays now directly threaten our ability to move forward on critical housing projects. Thank you.
We have one more speaker, Teresa Gill Walker.
Good evening, everybody. Mayor Cobb, Vice Mayor McGuire, everybody on City Council, attorney, manager. I wasted enough time. Now, y'all know that, I'm a Roanoke resident. I love Roanoke very, very much, and all I want is the best for it. As Mayor Cobb and I have talked about with the new data center that's coming in Botetourt, and the amount of water that they're going to be taking that's taken from us, yes, some of it is recycled, Mayor, and a lot of it isn't. It's evaporated. I've yet to get the real numbers, but it's a lot. So I'm coming to you guys as a Roanoke City resident saying, take care of Roanoke, protect Roanoke, look out for Roanoke City. Because when it comes to the ozone pollution, Google it. Data centers are one of the main contributors for ozone pollution, okay? And guess what fights ozone pollution? Tree canopies. And guess where it's a big tree canopy? Evans Springs. Now, this ozone pollution is no joke, it's very serious. You can Google it. Areas in Texas where they have a lot of data centers have actually shut down and said, don't go to school, don't go to work, don't leave, because of the ozone pollution. But here in Roanoke, we're going to have a buffer because of Evans Springs, because that's over 300 acres that Google bought. Most data centers are, I would say the standard, 10 to 40 acres. So they're either going to build a whole bunch of data centers or one of those great big 200-acre ones that's going to take up even the more to 300,000 to 500 million gallons of water a day that we need to start protecting us. Because, yeah, Evans Springs flows into Roanoke River, but sooner or later, we're going to need to be selfish with Evans Springs as a serious water resource. It might come down to that sooner than later. So I'm asking you to, yeah, there are some areas that you might want to say, let's do something, but protect Evans Springs. Because by protecting Evans Springs, you're protecting Roanoke. And when you're protecting the city of Roanoke, you're enhancing the city of Roanoke. And to piggyback on my fellow people over here, just to piggyback real quick, remember, the better the education system you have, the more corporations you can bring in, the more people that will want to be here, because they'll send their kids to the public schools, not have to worry about the private schools, and it will enhance Roanoke even more, because we'll have the taxes from these people working here in the city. I thank you. I hope y'all have a great, safe evening, and make sure you get ready for the snow.
Madam Clerk, is that everyone? All right, thank you all for coming out tonight. There being no further business to come before the council, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.